Hello, welcome to Local Anesthetic Podcast, your regular injection of mind-numbing, strange, bizarre, weird, sinister news, sourced locally, of course, and from around the world. This is episode 415 now, and anybody who's sort of really paying attention can probably tell that I am still unwell. It's been 2 weeks of probably just the worst flu I've ever had, and I'm sick of it. But other than that, I'm all right. How are you, Rob?
I've got a cold, mate. Although, to be fair, what you told me about how well you've been, it's nothing in comparison. So, yeah, no, I'm not going to complain. It's just, your usual bits and pieces. So I'm going to do my best not to sniff or anything. I've got a pack of tissues next to me, so apologies, listeners, in advance.
Right. And there's a rather large, sort of over to your right-hand side, Rob, a large collection of materials, maybe sheets. Is that just for the washing later, or is that your pile of tissues?
No. That's actually Lara's duvet.
Right.
I was going to strip her bed and just change her duvet cover. And after this call, it was just a reminder for me to do that.
Right. Thanks for that, Rob. Is there any news, Rob?
No, I think we can just crack on this week.
I'm going to start off, Rob, with a heartwarming story, and then we're going to lurch into, Rob, another real update, because I've been doing this for quite some time, and I think I'm fairly unique in covering this. I can't really think of any other sort of journalist or right-wing publication that really talks about the topic of broken Britain, Rob, which I will be diving back into. I don't think anybody else really covers it or talks about it, but this is let's start off with a heartwarming story, Rob. Do you know, Rob, all my stories this week are local stories. Come on.
I'm impressed, Alex.
This is from the Cornwall Live by Neil Shaw, who's their network content editor. I love this story. Headline: 1977 crisp packet featuring Kevin Keegan found on beach. Now, that is what, 46 years old? 46 years old?
Yeah. 46, yeah.
Insane. A crisp packet from 1977 featuring Kevin Keegan has been discovered after washing up on a beach. The bag, more than 40 years old, was found by a dog walker on a beach in Cornwall. Now, I know, Rob, that we have lots of listeners from around the world. I think we need to explain who Kevin Keegan was. Shall I leave that to you?
Oh, God, Alex. I mean,
he's still alive.
He is still alive. So he was... he was one of the stars. I mean, he played for Newcastle for a long, long time. I'm trying to think I don't actually know who else he played for.
So he's a very famous footballer. Didn't he play? Kevin Keegan was a very famous footballer, and he started off as a footballer, and he went into management.
Yeah. Did he also play for? He played for England as well. He managed England as well, didn't he?
Yes, he did a lot of things. He began his career at Scunthorpe United, Rob. He moved to Liverpool in 1971, then to Hamburg.
Of course he did.
In 1977. He was a regular member of the England squad. He played for Southampton and Newcastle United before retiring, but he returned to football in 1992 as a manager for Newcastle. And if you remember, he actually managed Fulham, and I completely forgot at some point he managed Manchester City, so presumably he can take some degree of credit for their success.
I don't remember that at all.
But one of the things he's most famous for is that when he was manager of Newcastle was something like 10, 11 points, 12 points clear of Manchester United, who were the kind of the best team in the land at that point in the league by about Christmas, and but they let that slip, and Manchester United won, and he got very emotional in an interview, didn't he, because they were starting to lose ground, and he sort of lost it with an interviewer and said, I would love it if we beat them, I would love it, and he was very well remembered for that. But anyway, this is Kevin Keegan, so presumably at some point he endorsed these crisps. The packet features the picture and printed signature of former England footballer Keegan and the chance to buy one of his endorsed superstar tracksuits for, Rob, the grand price of £4.98. Now, I just want to describe the crisp packet for you, because it's not some colourful thing that you might expect. It's basically three tones of very, very typical 70s colours, Rob. So we're talking, if you imagine a three-tone design consisting of orange, off-white and brown. Yeah. Orange, off-white and brown.
If you asked me to guess, Alex, those would be the colours I would have guessed. Because, everyone knows in the 70s, most meals were of, I would say orange, off-white or brown. That was basically the staple.
So that Smith's crisps, it says Kevin Keegan in sort of his signature superstar tracksuit something. There's a sort of picture of him, but it's not a picture, it's sort of a line drawing in these sort of colours, so kind of monochrome-y type thing. And then it just says chicken flavour. These are the kind of crisps that had Rob been alive back then, he would have been eating.
I disagree, Alex. I've never been a fan of chicken or roast chicken flavour. For me, they are probably, with the exception of ready salted, the most boring crisp flavours you can possibly get.
Lisa Beckley, 50, found the packet of Chicken Smith's crisps while walking her 2 dogs at Damer Bay near Wadebridge on October the 29th. The self-employed dog groomer said she was totally gobsmacked as the packet is in pristine condition. Now, it is not in pristine condition, Rob, but it doesn't look like it's 46 years old. She said, I would love to know what its journey over the last 40 years has been. The orange, brown and white packet features a picture of famously permed Kevin Keegan on the front with his signature. The back contains the information about the offer, including a closing date, Rob, of the 1st of October 1977.
Oh, Alex, I can't believe we missed out on that.
I know.
Also, I'm not sure that Superstar clothing are still a thing.
No. He made 63 appearances, Rob, for England between 1972 and 1982.
Great.
But, Rob, of course, there is a sinister side to this tale. Do you want to identify what that is?
Well, I imagine it's the, I hate to bring up, our friend pollution again, but it's the fact that this crisp packet has been in our oceans for the best part of 40 years.
Yeah, exactly. She said, I think a lot of people seem to think this stuff will all eventually disappear and it's not their concern. Yep. So many people have walked past the crisp packet. It was very busy on a Sunday and no one had bothered to stop to pick it up. Even with the tide almost in, I made the effort to get it. All right, Lisa.
Sounds a bit self-righteous to me, if you...
Yeah. She says she litter picks every time she takes a walk on the beach and believes people should try and do their bit for the planet when possible. I always have poop bags with me, so I end up filling several of them. Just imagine her, they're just tied to her belt, Rob.
I imagine she's that kind of person.
She's like that pigeon woman out of, that pigeon lady out of Home Alone, Lost in New York, but only with poo bags.
Yeah. She makes me, I don't know why, I imagine that she's the kind of person who makes her own dream catchers.
Well, you say that, Rob. Listen to this. This is intolerable.
Sorry, Alex. Get out.
Can we leave some of that in?
If you want, it's up to you.
Even on Watergate Bay, which I've never heard of, presumably named after the Nixon scandal, I can only assume.
Yes, I'd imagine so, yeah.
I dragged a full-size, heavy plastic fish tray that had been washed up back with me, and I dragged it along with ghost net string that was very long and perfect for the job. I felt like an ice cap explorer as I tied it round my waist, as it was so heavy to drag it. Thoughts, Rob?
I don't want to allude to the fact there might be some mental health issues there. What the hell is ghost net string? What was that the phrase?
I don't know, Rob. She just... Can
we just imagine this sight of this woman who's walking her dog, dragging whatever this large item of not driftwood, but pollution is. I mean, it's quite... it'd be quite upsetting.
So this woman, Rob, wants to drag down a touching tale, Rob, by going on about pollution and her own agenda. But I'm not going to let her, Rob, because I'm going to read out the back of this crisp packet in detail so we can go back in time, Rob.
Sure.
To 1978. So first of all, it says, with a picture of Keegan on the back, again, a drawing, they're great value from only £4.98. Hi. Whatever sport you enjoy, you need a good tracksuit, and I know that lots of boys and girls like to wear them all the time. Whenever somebody uses that phrase, boys and girls, now, it just doesn't ring well. I know a lot of boys and girls like to wear them all the time. If you haven't got one yet, or need a new one, now's your chance to get one of my superstar tracksuits from Smith's Crisps. They're really smart and well made in raw blue with white trim, and every one has my special autographed international badge as well. So he just invented some international badge, Rob, yeah?
Oh, I see. I thought it was going to be like 3 lines, but no, apparently he just made it up. Okay.
Made in good quality nylon fabric. These tracksuits are tough, long lasting.
God, it is the 70s, isn't it? Made in good quality nylon fabric.
Yeah, they're tough, long-lasting and very easy to wash and dry, so Mum will like your new tracksuit as much as you do. Terrific value to it, prices from £4.98 to £5.98 according to size, and this includes post and packing. Remember, you only have to collect 5 special Kevin Keegan Smith's crisp packets to get one. I mean, that is good. You wouldn't get a free tracksuit for 5 packets of Walkers now, would you, Rob?
No, I mean, if that's the case, but also, Alex, I mean, it's just not the crisp packets. I mean, there is a cost there as well. I mean, let's face it, in today's money, that would probably be like £150, I'd say.
But you're not probably far off. P.S. I'll send you my signed photograph with every tracksuit. Now let's go through how to apply.
Nice.
Write your name and address in block capitals on a plain piece of paper, specifying size required, and they've listed the sizes, Rob, and send it with check/postal order made payable to Kevin Keegan tracksuit offer for the correct amount plus 5 special Smith's crisp packets to Kevin Keegan Superstar Tracksuit Offer, department number 674, The Old Pines, Epsom, Surrey. And it only applies, Rob, to the UK. Let's just quickly, Rob, go through the ingredients of these crisps. There aren't many.
Okay, sure.
There aren't many, which is always a good thing.
Chicken, crisps, that's it.
Rob, they don't put no crisps but real chicken in the chicken flavouring of the chicken dishes.
Diced chicken, crisps, oil. That's it. Nothing else. 70s, Alex. It was a simpler time.
Potatoes, edible vegetable oil with antioxidant, doesn't say what that is, salt, flavouring, colour.
Right.
Now that, to me, I reckon that's probably healthier than our crisps that we have now, no?
I like the fact they actually specified edible cooking oil as opposed to the inedible cooking oil. No, I think you're probably right, Alex. It's probably got a lot less E numbers and
exactly.
preservatives.
It finishes by saying these crisps should reach you in perfect condition. If they do not, please write to Consumer Service Department, the Smiths Food Group, 111 Mortlake Road, Surrey, W9 4AH, enclosing this packet with its contents, stating where and when bought, we'll be pleased to reimburse you. So I think she should try this and see what happens. Because, as you say, in today's money, they'll be worth about £10,000?
I'd imagine so, yeah. Unfortunately, I do think the contents may have been lost over time. That's my only concern here.
Right, let's move on, Rob. We are obviously into November, deep into November. But I just want to go back to what happened around the Halloween time. Because, as I said, not only I thought the crisp packet was an example of one of the great aspects of Britain, but it turns out that it is an example of broken Britain and our pollution problem, apparently.
Yep.
Now let's go to BBC News. Now, I did look for the local version of the story, but none of them had the detail that the BBC version did, Rob. So we've gone with Aunt BBC.
Okay.
This is from the 31st of October 2018. Mischief Night antisocial behaviour hits towns and cities. I'd never heard of Mischief Night in my life. Had you?
No, but I can imagine it relates to Halloween. If I took an educated guess.
I think it's a northern thing. So basically, Mischief Night it takes place the night before Halloween.
Oh, does it? I didn't know that. Okay, no, that's new to me.
In this country, Mischief Night incidents, including arson attacks, have been seen in towns and cities across England. Middlesbrough was described as a Wild West when a woman was hit by a brick on a bus, and Merseyside saw 12 arson attacks on Tuesday. The only thing I'd say about that is I thought that was kind of common sort of daily crime statistics for those areas.
Right.
That's a good day, isn't it? I mean, hey, we've only had 12 arson attacks today, boss. Hey, brilliant, those statistics.
Down on the average. Yeah. I mean, that obviously is said in the name of jest. Also, I'm not sure I would class arson as mischief. That feels like, quite serious.
Yeah, no,
maybe I'm wrong.
No, the police aren't calling it mischief. The locals call it Mischief Night. Bricks and fireworks were thrown at police officers and police horses in West Lancashire.
Sure.
So, the Mischief Night tradition sees youths commit antisocial behaviour on the night before Halloween. What a great tradition.
Yeah.
BBC reporter Adam Clarkson, who joined one of the patrols in Middlesbrough, so he had a great job. He was sent out with the police, said it was like the Wild West. A woman was taken to hospital after a bus window was smashed by a brick in Berwick Hills.
God.
In the Ormsby area of the city, a group of about 10 youths ran in front of the police van and threw eggs. Extra police were on duty across Teesside to tackle the traditionally busy night for antisocial behaviour, with Cleveland police doubling patrols in some areas. What kind of tradition is it where there's this sort of understanding between the police and the public that the day before Halloween people are going to go out and basically commit acts of criminality? What is that?
Alex, we know, look, the whole point of this is the fact we're talking about broken Britain. We know society is slowly breaking down, and this is only going to get worse. Mischief Night, a lot like Black Friday, it won't just be one night, it'll be literally a fortnight, and then it'll turn into year long, and that's when we take over the government, and, a full-on coup d'etat.
I do think it would be nice if on Guy Fawkes Night, which is that's fireworks night. So we call it Guy Fawkes, international listeners, as well as fireworks. Now we have all the fireworks. We call it Guy Fawkes night because basically this guy called Guy Fawkes literally, was it in the 1800s, tried to burn down the Houses of Parliament? Was it the 1800s?
I think it was earlier than that. I think it was 17 something, yeah.
Come on, let's. Rob's much better with me. Guy Fawkes. Oh my God, 1605. Fucking hell.
There we go, yeah.
Which century is that then? Is that hang on, is 1605 the 17th or the 15th? Because it never matches up with the...
No, it's the 17th century.
17th, yeah. That's it. Oh, I always get that wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
Obviously, Guy Fawkes, famously Spanish, just to throw that in.
Of course, yeah. So, Rob, listen, the force said there'd been a total of 137 incidents and a number of teenagers were arrested, with the youngest being an 11-year-old boy on suspicion of a public order offence. Rob, in Leeds, youth screw fireworks at a blind woman and her guide dog.
Yeah, that's quite shocking.
Yeah. On Merseyside, Stagecoach stopped running some services through Kirby because of vandalism, and a woman was injured when a brick was thrown through the window of a bus in Fazacurley. Police also dealt with incidents involving groups of youths in Skelmersdale, Ormskirk, and Tarleton, where fireworks were thrown at police horses. Merseyside Fire Services said fires in wheelie bins had taken fire engines from other potential emergencies, and they just said antisocial behaviour of fires are unacceptable and put communities at risk. Just if you'd like to know, Rob, I know you're chomping at the bit there to say something. Mischief Night is thought to date from the 1700s.
Oh, really?
When a custom of lawless hours or days prevailed in Britain. So there was a custom of lawless hours or days. I need to look that up. How is it that neither of us have ever heard of this?
But Alex, that then puts a different spin on it for me, because that changed it from one day of just civil disobedience to an English traditional day or festival in some ways. So this is as ingrained in our culture as, I don't know, Easter.
Right.
Or Easter should be.
Right, so here's some history, Rob. Depending on where you live, it lands sometime around Halloween and bonfire night, and opinions vary on whether it's a chance for harmless fun or excuse for antisocial behaviour. Like many traditions, its exact origins are unknown, but it's thought to date from the late 1700s, when a custom of lawless hours or days prevailed in Britain. These were times when normal laws were suspended, and tricks could be played ranging from throwing cabbage stalks at people to the swapping of shopkeepers' signs and gates. But maybe that's what Boris Johnson was doing that time, Rob. He was just engaging in this old tradition when he prorogued Parliament, got Brexit through and all of that.
Good point.
Yeah.
I mean, Alex, I think we need to remember, as I said, these aren't criminals. They are just upholding the great traditions of this once fine nation.
Rob, do you know what? You're right. And on that note, we're going to move, Rob, to the Wales Online. Rob, we're talking about Broken Britain. Now, there's somebody at the moment on the horizon, like many people have claimed in the past, who says that he can fix Broken Britain. That person is the leader of the opposition, the Labour Party, Keir Starmer. However, Rob, they're very far ahead in the polls. It's sort of seen now as just a nailed-on thing. There seems to just be a sort of common understanding amongst the political class and the media establishment that come this time next year, we will have a Labour government. Great, some people might say. Let's kick out these Tories. Here's what I'd say to them. Let's go to Wales, Labour-run Wales, Rob, for an example of what Britain might look like under a Labour government.
Right. Okay.
This is by Jason Evans, obviously a Welshman, but on the 2nd of November 2023 from the Wales Online. Is this, Rob, the kind of country that you want to live in? Dad punched unconscious at a child's christening party, leaving him with broken jaw and nose.
Alex, hang on 1 second. We don't know. We haven't got to the meat of the story, but just imagine for a second this father had made a sacrilegious comment here. Maybe he'd been blaspheming in the church, and it was the vicar who committed the crime. In that situation, that's the country I want to live in. This is a Christian country, and we should take it back.
A man punched a dad unconscious and broke his jaw at a child's christening party in a rugby club, a court has heard. Carl Gray was seen sitting on top of his motionless victim outside the clubhouse, repeatedly punching him in the face.
Right, okay.
A group of youngsters who were playing football nearby had to intervene and end the attack and drag the defendant away. Because, of course, youngsters, Rob, are responsible for all the ills of society and never do anything good.
Correct, Alex.
The victim was left unable to eat solid foods for 3 months after the assault and faces having to have his nose rebroken and set due to its deformity. So when they do that, when they're like, look, prognosis, you're in the hospital, the best course of action is we're going to have to re-break your nose and reset it. So, and then they just bring somebody in like with these big beefy arms. I
don't think they just bring in like a burly hospital assistant just to smash them in the face. No, I don't think that's how it works. Alex, also, I don't know. I've been to a handful of christenings in my life. I just can't imagine how you'd ever get that incense that you'd need to inflict that much damage on a fellow human being.
The victim and Gray were both heavily intoxicated, Rob. It was Wales.
Right. Sure.
But I'm not going to get into it too much because actually it's not that nice. But I just wanted to get into that Judge Simon Mills told Gray he had, in quotes, disgraced himself at a children's party with his appalling behaviour.
Did he shoot himself as well?
Huh?
Did he shit himself as well?
Maybe. Rob, just to finish then from the Wales Online, then here. So you say, okay, maybe this could just be a flash in the pan, not an example of what life would look like under Labour Britain. But this is by Conacher Gogarty, Rob, from the 1st of November. The man with probably the longest criminal record in Wales. Right? A man with what his own lawyer called the worst record you will have ever seen.
Okay.
Has been jailed.
Hang on. Are you telling me he's got a worse record than like a serial killer, for example?
Was jailed after he was caught repeatedly trying to steal from a Cardiff Bay restaurant. Rob, can I just say, stealing is equal to murder?
No, you're right, Alex.
No.
In the crowd.
Well, hang on. In the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill. It doesn't say which is more important. It doesn't say this list is in order of significance. So please, Rob.
And in the eyes of God, it's all a sin.
Andrew Davies, well, and this is a sad thing, of course, because...
No relation.
I mean, Rob is evidently from criminal stock. You can tell. I mean, he's worked hard to sort of live a decent life, but it's there in him. Every day he has to stop himself. Yeah, every day he has to stop himself from committing criminal acts. Don't you, Rob? I mean, it's a constant battle.
Yes, but I've managed to get to the point where, Alex, well, I don't commit them. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
You know.
But
although the
urges are still there.
The motivation is there. yeah, I've managed to really rein myself in the last couple of years.
Rob could be walking to work and he will just be fixated with images of wanting just to throw a brick through a Morrison's. It will just
or steal a Vauxhall Nova, that kind of thing.
Andrew Davies, which we don't know, it could be real. I mean, I have to say there is a similarity in appearance. 43 has 517 previous offences, and what his own solicitor said was an appalling and atrocious record.
I would argue they probably needed a new solicitor.
All right, I just wanted to say I'm with Peter. Like I'm a big admirer of Peter Hitchen's view on the world. You know, he is very critical, Rob, I think, of our criminal justice system in the sense that we need to do more to act as a deterrent, not less.
Well, you two believe in this fantasy of addiction in which people lose...
Fantasy of addiction.
A complete fantasy in which people lose all power over themselves and become victims of this terrible, frightening disease. Terrible, frightening disease after which they cannot stop taking drugs. If you really believe that, then you would presumably think the best thing would be that they never, ever came in contact with those drugs.
Of course.
Wouldn't it, therefore, be wise to deter them from doing so by a stern and effective criminal justice system which actually persuaded them it was unwise to take the drugs in the first place?
So the criminal justice system is failing, Rob, because he's been in and out of prison, and surely he is a really good advert for why we should be bringing back something more harsh than our current prison system. But, and I'm even talking, because when I was growing up, Rob, in the 70s, as I recall, there was still capital punishment. Has life got better or worse since then? Well, you know, if you read some of the papers, it's quite clear to see. Well, he was attempting, Rob, to steal alcohol from the dock in Mermaid Quay, and it came during a crime spree just a month after he narrowly avoided prison for previous thefts. Prosecutor Neil Evans told Cardiff Magistrates Court a strange-looking man was seen at 6:30 p.m. on October the 25th, coming down a flight of stairs in the dock with bottles under his jacket. The member of the public who spotted the thief voiced concern to an employee of the restaurant, CCTV revealed he'd taken 30 pounds of bottles of vodka from behind the bar. Rob, he would return to the scene of the crime 3 days later, but not before shoplifting some clothes. On the evening of October the 25th, he went into JD Sports on Queen Street and stole 5 Under Armour track jackets worth a total of £225, and the very next day, he returned and took 4 Fred Perry T-shirts worth £300. It goes on and on.
Alex, it just goes to show the type of person he is. I mean, he doesn't even have decent dress sense.
Well, Rob, his solicitor told magistrates, "I'm the first to recognise he has an atrocious record. He has perhaps the worst record you will have ever seen. He recognises that it is an appalling record and cannot be excused. His life has been blighted by addiction. Unfortunately, he's been a heroin addict from childhood. He has beaten heroin, receiving a Bovidal injection monthly which holds the addiction at bay, but in recent years he's replaced heroin with alcohol, hence the bottles of vodka. He's shown in the past he's capable of beating an addiction and is desperate to do so." And he goes on in a way trying to justify this man's actions. What I would say is, Rob,
appalling.
What I would say is, Rob, is let's just think about this. Given that this man has committed 517 offences and is now back in the dock again, do we think that even logically it makes sense to criminalise somebody who's been addicted to heroin as a child, or maybe treat them? Which do we think would be better here?
Well, I think personally, I would suggest treating them. I would also suggest that maybe they could stand for as a member of the Tory party in some sort of rural constituency.
Yeah, I don't want to get us into hot water, so no comment. Okay, Rob, sorry, that was a lengthier segment than I intended, Rob, but of course, before you vote Labour, Rob, look at Wales. That should be the Tory slogan.
Lovely.
Over to you.
Thank you. So I'm going to do one story for the listener, because the listener's got an alarming amount of details, which we'll obviously love. So I'm just going to do this one story first. So this is from the Metro. It is by Katie Boyden from the 1st November. I did try and find the local version of the story, but I couldn't find one. So the headline is, "Bizarre moment, man is rescued after getting wedged inside traffic cone." Because, of course, why not?
Now, my question is he wedged like bottom in, or is it that he's put it on his head like Partridge style? And look at me, I'm a big witch, and his head's got stuck. By the way, do you have a traffic? I own a traffic cone.
No, I don't own a traffic cone, actually, no.
And I haven't used it for anything, I'm just going to say that, but I do have a traffic cone. I won't say why.
So Alex, he is wedged in like head first, so his legs were dangling out the bottom of it. His legs dangling.
Okay, right.
Yes. It is a slightly large traffic cone, the ones that we use in this country, just FYI. They're slightly more, they're larger. Anyway, baffled road workers have captured the moment they find a man stuck inside a traffic cone. The road workers in São Paulo, Brazil, were removing the cones from an area of roadworks on Sunday the 29th. That can't be right. Sorry?
I was just blowing my nose.
Oh, sorry, I didn't. Sorry.
I'm ill.
Yeah, sorry. Apologies, Alex. I thought you were trying to interrupt. So they removed the traffic cones from an area of roadworks on Sunday, where they realised that one of them was heavier than the others. They shone a light inside the cone. They spotted the outline of a man. Now, I thought...
Is this man trying to live in the traffic cone?
Yes, I'm not entirely sure. So what it seems to me is he got his sort of torso trapped, and then sort of, I think, realising that he couldn't get out, then basically retracted his legs. So basically he was fully immersed inside the traffic cone. But he could actually stretch his legs out. So workers from the traffic engineering company then tipped the waist-high cone over and peered inside the bottom to see a man folded up inside. Despite the initial shock, the road worker reassured the trapped man, "I'll get you out, try to put your foot out."
Sorry, Rob, how big is this traffic? Is it like a teepee? What kind of traffic cone is this? I'm going to need to look this up.
It's quite sizable.
Okay, why? Is it Land of the Giants? Traffic cone, where is it? Man stuck.
Brazil.
Brazil, right, here we go. I've got it. Bizarre moment. Man is rescued. Oh, I see. Yes, that is quite a size. But why was he in there? Do we know?
No. Right. No, we've no idea.
Maybe it's a fetish thing.
It could be.
Right.
The man was apparently so tightly wedged in that every effort to pull him out failed, leading to workers asking him if they could call the fire service.
Yeah, you'd have to cut him out of that shit. I'm looking at it now. So it's probably about the size of imagine a normal traffic cone, but kind of size it up by about 3 times. You could fit a person in there, but he's properly wedged up there. He's not wedged up it. That was the other problem. He's not. He's like, he could have. What if nobody'd ever known he was there? He could have just died in that.
Well, interestingly, it said, but finally, one worker put the cone the right way up, hoisted it up, and the trapped man slipped out onto the tarmac, which implies to me that maybe he wasn't trapped at all. He was just enjoying himself in a traffic cone.
Yeah, there's something quite sad about this story, Rob, isn't there, in a way?
Here it. Sorry, Alex, it does say why he was in there. I do apologize. It's right at the bottom of the story. He later told the crew that he'd squeezed himself inside to get out of the rainstorm, but he could not get out once it was over. It's not known how long he spent inside the cone.
I would not think to myself, fuck it, I need to get out of the rain. I will wedge myself in a traffic cone, no matter how large, Rob, to do that.
No, I mean, unless you're in the middle of nowhere, surely most people would like dive into a shop or stand underneath an awning. I wouldn't think to run into traffic with roadworks and then climb inside a traffic cone, Alex. It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Or I just get wet. I mean, I do want to say to people that in a situation like that, the worst that's going to happen is you're going to be just drenched.
Yes, yeah.
And it will dry eventually. I mean...
But instead, you've added your humiliation by, first of all, climbing into a traffic cone and then get stuck and have to be rescued by some road workers. So,
Yeah. Okay, mate, it's time for our listener story of the week, which I believe you've kind of told me there's detail we need to get into here, so I'm looking forward to it. What have you got, Rob, and who is it from?
So this was submitted by Steve. This is a new paper, Alex.
Lovely.
And I must admit, I feel that this is a paper that we need to keep an eye on.
Okay, I'll leave that up to you.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. So it's from the Cowboy State Daily.
Oh, my God. Now, the Cowboy State is, of course, Texas.
Well, in this case, it seems to be Wyoming.
No, sorry. The Cowboy State is Wyoming. Yes, the Lone Star State is Texas. I apologise to all our international and American listeners. The Cowboy State is Wyoming. Yep. And I'm pretty sure Texas is the Lone Star State. I'm actually going to check that. Lone Star State. Yes, Texas. I knew that. Yeah, I'm really sorry.
It is Texas. Yeah, Lone Star State. Yeah,
that was me lurching into stereotyping, and I'm sure I've offended a lot of people, and I'm sorry.
It's fine, Alex. It won't be the first time. So this is from Halloween, so it's from the 31st of October. It's by Claire McFarland. And the headline is, Green River man accused of breaking into home and cleaning the kitchen. Now,
right, so it's like one of those sort of fairies.
Yes, to an extent.
Okay.
But, Alex, the level of detail is extraordinary. And also, I don't think the headline does it justice.
Okay.
Now, it is slightly lengthy. I'm going to try and basically pick out the most salient points of this. But like I said, it's quite a long story from what happened. But anyway, so accused of breaking into another man's home, stealing his guns and crossbows, cooking a pizza and cleaning the kitchen, a Green River man could face up to half a century in prison.
Right. So, let's contrast with this man. Whatever it was, 517 convictions, in and out of prison. Now, this is what the likes of Peter Hitchens would argue for. I'm sure a man you also respect, Rob, would be,
of course,
50 years in prison.
Yeah,
You want
it's the way it should be.
You want to steal a bottle of vodka? Life in jail.
Yeah. The man. I mean, unfortunately, the man also reportedly left his wallet at the crime scene, which led the then Green River police sergeant on a treasure hunt to win back the stolen items. So,
do you know why, Rob? Because his guilty conscience wanted it. It kind of, that's what that was. It's sort of a Freudian slip, as it were.
Absolutely, Alex. So, Delroy Reed Trujillo, who is 50 this year, is charged with 1 count of aggravated burglary, a crime consisting of breaking someone's home to commit a felony. In Wyoming, stealing a gun is a felony regardless of the gun's value. Right, let's jump into... Oh, apparently normally an aggravated burglary can carry between a 5 and 25-year prison sentence. Right, anyway. So an affidavit filing the case says the investigation started at 2 p.m. on June 25th when Green River Police Sergeant Gary Bark,
Great name.
responded to a Green River home. Yeah, Gary Bark responded to a Green River home for a reported burglary. The resident, Moran Lenling, had returned home from work that afternoon to find a suspicious note in his living room on his computer. The note said, 30 days, 1, be cool.
30 days, 1, be cool. Okay, that is cryptic.
Yeah, so the homeowner returns home, finds this note on his computer, no idea how it got there. So Lelling said he was uneasy, he hadn't locked the door, and actually called a friend to ask if he could stay the night. Then he left then he locked the door and left. When he got home the next day, he went to his door. It was closed but unlocked. A large stuffed giraffe that usually sat in the living room now sat just inside the door. His things throughout the house were out of place. A cooked half-eaten pizza sat in the oven. A mini sledgehammer that doesn't belong in the kitchen counter was nevertheless perched there. And the kitchen was cleaner than usual, the affidavit said.
So I love that. I also love, like, if I had a stuffed giraffe in the house, which I don't, but if I did, it moving positions, that would be the thing which would really creep me out.
Yeah. So basically, the homeowner comes home after receiving the note the previous day. He comes home the following day and then sees that his stuffed giraffe's been moved. There's a half-eaten pizza in the oven. There's a mini sledgehammer in the kitchen, and also there's a new note, by the way, Alex.
And also, Rob, the kitchen was cleaner than normal. And I just want to say, Rob, this is what happened with the bears as well in Goldilocks. This is what it was like when they got back.
Good point, Alex. That's a very good point. Also, there's 3 empty cans of Budweiser in the sink. So the new note read, foreclosure, $241,000, 7th of the 25th, paid. So I'm assuming that there's some sort of transaction going on here about the house. I don't know.
Sorry, Rob, I was hacking up, I'm not going to say what, while you were saying that. Could you just remind me of what the note said again? Sorry.
Yeah, sure. So the new note basically said foreclosure, $241,000, paid on the 7th, 25th, so on the 25th of July. So that was a new note left inside.
I don't understand what any of this means. I mean, foreclosure isn't foreclosure when you you haven't paid your
buy
debts.
A property.
With foreclosure.
Yeah.
With foreclosure when you buy it, or is it when you haven't kept up with the debts?
So I think what they would say, we'll go into more detail, but basically, as you rightly say, foreclosure is basically where the mortgage lenders foreclosed the property, i.e. they reclaimed the property and then sold it on, from my understanding. So it implies that maybe the house has been bought. He goes on to say that apparently his Telecaster guitar had also been stolen, alongside a £150 crossbow and a bottle of Glenlivet Scotch.
So out of everything, hang on a minute, Rob, out of everything that's happened so far, if I'm this homeowner, the missing crossbow is going to be the most disturbing. Yeah? What are you going to do
and also
with that?
His collection of rifles.
Right, so at that point, I'm probably moving out. And getting the police heavily involved.
Correct.
Yeah.
Lenling then walked outside and just outside the east entry door found a wallet. It contained several information cards belonging to Delroy, the affidavit said. There is no reason for him to be there, Lenning told Bark, who was obviously the police officer. Bark went for a stroll in the house with Lenning while the man pointed out what was missing and what was moved. Lenning showed Bark the door handle, jogged loose, and the way the latch didn't meet the strike plate securely. So obviously how he gained entry. A few minutes later, after he left the house, Bark then heard a dispatch that Trujillo was at Lenning's house arguing with Lenning and his friends.
Sorry, Rob, I'm losing sight of who everybody is.
Okay, so Bark is the police officer.
Yes.
Lenning is the homeowner.
Right.
And Trujillo is the defendant.
Who broke into the house? So who's being heard arguing with who? Sorry.
So over the radio dispatch, Bark, the police officer, then heard that Jilling had turned up at the house, the guy who'd allegedly broke into the house, and was basically in a disagreement with Lenning and his friends, so the homeowner's friends.
Right.
Bark, they drove back to the house and separated everyone, then asked Trujillo to have a talk with him. Trujillo gripped a can of Budweiser, matching the ones left in Lenning's sink, the affidavit said.
Well, or matching any can of Budweiser. I mean, what does that even mean?
So Trujillo said that his brother had bought the house and he was just there eating pizza and cleaning it up.
What do you need? Brother had bought that? You can't just buy somebody's house without them selling it, can you? Oh, unless you haven't kept up with unless it's been repossessed. I don't understand what's going on.
Okay, so I'll get into detail. So just to skip ahead, what basically happened is Trujillo and his brother had basically seen the property and assumed it was, for some reason, thought it was on the market.
Well, it's just a free-for-all. Every house is...
I need to find what they said they were going to do with it. So, police officers with Trujillo said he had said that his brother talked about buying the residence across the street from the Red Feather, don't know what Red Feather is, in Green River, levering them and putting up storage units. So apparently they just talked about it and he'd made the assumption that his brother had bought the house. So he thought he'd just let himself in and then could cook himself a pizza and clean it because the house was unkempt.
This is ridiculous. This is like... Well, yeah, it's like lots of things, but yes, okay.
So Bart, the police officer, went to Trujillo's aunt's house and they spoke with the woman's husband, Trujillo's uncle. The uncle said they stopped by and asked for $100, don't know why. In return, he'd given them 2 guns as collateral the man had claimed. So this basically relates to what happened to the stolen guns and crossbows. So basically, Trujillo and his family are maintaining that there was a legitimate transaction between him and Lenning, that the guns had been sold to them. Okay? Which is why they were in possession of them. This never happened, by the way.
No, you can't. It's absurd.
So Trujillo apparently called Bark another day and told him he wasn't alone during the break-in, but he would tell Bark who he was with. That other person may or may not have taken some stuff, Trujillo allegedly continued.
May or may not have taken some stuff. That's very... you're really committed there to your story, aren't you? Well, they may have taken some stuff, they may have not taken some stuff. And they may have been there, they may have not been there. And I may have been there, I may have not been there.
Alex, he went on to say, Trujillo went on to say that he may or may not know where the culprit had put the stolen loot. Which again, he's trying not to incriminate himself. You have to respect him for that.
Yeah, no comment is the best way of doing that. Your what is it? Your Fifth Amendment rights?
That's correct, yeah. So he said apparently the goods were stashed at the back of Lenning's property. If the goods were there, they may or may not have been under her couch, on a couch under a tarp, Trujillo had said. So they may or may
right, so that's you saying you know exactly where they are. You don't say, oh, they may or may not be, under the couch, in the living. It's very specific. He's just told him where they are. Yeah,
and apparently Bark then went to recover these items and recovered a black rifle case, a black backpack, black guitar case, large crossbow, handheld crossbow bolts, wooden box containing Glenlivet Scotch, and a DeWalt angle grinder.
There's your episode title. Rob. What they don't realise is they have really incriminated themselves, because this goes to court. You saying they may or may not be in this location and they turn up in this location, they would have been way better off saying, can you get us a lawyer?
Yeah, so and then the very final item, which again is on a very sort of similar bent, but Bart went to Trello's house and asked about the rifle. Trello said he'd make a call and Bart could pick up the rifle in a little while, probably in a cardboard box in a dumpster or something, said the affidavit. 20 minutes later, Trujillo called again and said the rifle may or may not be at the Chamber of Commerce behind an orange piece of equipment. Bark went to the Chamber of Commerce. He found a large rectangular cardboard box tucked into a crevice on an orange piece of equipment, and in it sat the rifle.
These guys claim that they bought the rifles or something in some legitimate transaction. Yes. If you do that, why are you hiding them in a dumpster behind the back of the Chamber of Commerce? Which, by the way, is just brilliant. I just love the details of this story.
It's a good question, Alex. So just to summarise, man breaks into house, leaves suspicious notes, drinks some beer, eats some pizza, cleans the kitchen because he believes that it was brought by his brother, so that they could level the property and build a storage unit. Despite no evidence to suggest that this was the case, steals some items, which he then says that apparently were these crimes were committed by the assailant that he was with at the time, and he may or may not know where they are. Although apparently, when the police went to recover them, they were exactly as he described. And unfortunately,
it was just a good guess. It was just
an educated guess, Alex. He obviously knows that this assailant particularly well. Unfortunately, as we've said at the top of the story, he does now stand to face half a century in prison.
And by the way, despite my comments earlier, that does seem very severe for the crime. I mean, it's a terrible crime, but to me, 5 years would be appropriate, not half a century, no?
Yeah, I think that the half century is the upward limit. I mean, I'm assuming he wouldn't get that, but...
Having said that, Rob, that would provide a very useful deterrent, I must say.
Agreed, Alex.
Okay, Rob, that brings episode 415? Yes. To a close, Rob. We look forward. No, we don't do that anymore. We can be found on our website, LAPodcast.net. From there, you can download all of our episodes for free. So if ever anything happens through any of the podcast apps, maybe there's some sort of nuclear Armageddon and somehow Rob and I have managed to keep our website still going, all of the episodes will be there. And also, fantastically, there will always be that PayPal button, if PayPal is still around after nuclear Armageddon, where you can leave us a tip or a rolling donation. All of that we really appreciate. Please do that. Please leave us a review on wherever you download the podcast from. That really helps us too. And we're going to be back in a week's time with episode 416. We've really enjoyed your company as always.
Honestly, I will love it if we beat them. Love it.
God bless.
And keep it local.